All right, today we're breaking down Draw Steel, a game all about heroic, tactical, and cinematic fantasy. And you know what? We're going to jump right into the action. This command, it's really the heart and soul of the game. It's that call to action, that split second right before a legend is made. To really get what that feels like, let's just set the scene.
So picture this. You and your friends, you've fought your way all the way to the top of this crumbling necromancer's tower. The only light you have is the pale moon shining through this gaping hole in the ceiling, and it's glinting off all the broken glass scattered on the floor.
Your friend, maybe they're a little too eager, steps up onto the raised platform. And whoops, that was a mistake. Her boot lands on a sigil that's so faded you could barely see it. And just like that, crimson energy explodes from the floor, cracking across the stones.
The whole tower seems to groan around you. The heavy stone lids on those sarcophagi don't slide off. They slam onto the ground. And from that dusty darkness inside, 6 rotting, clawed hands reach out. They look pretty eager for a fight.
And that's when you know. The Rotten Lords. You've found them. There's no way back now. This is the moment. This is when you draw steel.
Okay, so to get how to play, you first have to understand the game's whole philosophy. And it's really built on these 3 big ideas: heroic, tactical, and cinematic.
So yeah, what kind of game is designed from the ground up to create those exact kinds of high-stakes moments, while basically stripping away everything else that just gets in the way of the action? And this right here, this is the key. Draw Steel is totally laser-focused. It is about extraordinary heroes fighting terrifying monsters. What it is not about is clearing rooms one by one, managing your torches and rations, or, tracking the exact weight of every single coin in your pouch. So let's start with heroic. The game just flat out assumes you're there to be a hero. And even more importantly, it cuts out all the boring stuff. I mean, think about your favorite action movie, right? Do you ever see the hero stop to count their arrows or fill out their travel paperwork? No, of course not. All that tedious stuff just happens off-screen, and it's the exact same deal here. Next up, tactical. This is not just a game of who has the bigger stats. Where you stand on the battlefield actually matters. How you work together with your team really matters. You are never, ever going to be stuck just saying, I swing my sword again. You always have interesting, meaningful choices that can completely turn the tide of a fight.
And finally, cinematic. The abilities in this game are written to be evocative, to create a little movie in your head. A great roll isn't just a number, it feels like a slow-motion action sequence where you pull off something absolutely incredible. The whole system is engineered to create those super memorable movie-like moments.
Okay, so with that philosophy in mind, let's look at the engine that makes this whole thing run. It really all boils down to one simple central mechanic.
Right, so when your character wants to do something, and the outcome isn't certain, whether that's swinging a giant axe, leaping over a chasm, or talking your way past a guard, how do you figure out what happens?
It's this simple. You make what's called a power roll. You grab 2 10-sided dice, roll them, and add the numbers together. Then, you just add the score of whatever characteristic you're using, like might if you're trying to lift something heavy, or agility if you're dodging a trap. And that's your total. Simple as that. Now here's where it gets really cool. Instead of a simple pass-fail system, your total determines one of 3 tiers of success. And you know what that means? There are no whiffed turns, no completely missed attacks in combat. Even on the lowest result, you're always doing something, always making progress. The question is never if you do something, but how well you do it. And this just shows it perfectly. Let's say you're using an ability called Brutal Slam. On a Tier 1 result, hey, you still deal damage and you push the enemy back. Not bad. But as you hit those higher tiers, the effect gets way more powerful, a ton more damage, and you send that bad guy flying across the room. Every single roll feels meaningful.
That same elegant system applies to everything you do, not just fighting. Let's see how it works for challenges when you're not in the middle of a battle. So, when you're trying to scale a wall, or pick a tricky lock, or persuade some stubborn noble, you make a test. It's the exact same mechanic. Roll 2d10 and add your characteristic. But instead of fixed tiers for an ability, you're trying to beat a difficulty number that the director sets. So the director just decides if the task is easy, medium, or hard. For an easy test, hitting that Tier 2, a roll of 12 or more, is a clean success. For a medium test, maybe a Tier 2 means you succeed, but with a complication. You need a Tier 3, a 17 or higher, to pull it off perfectly. And for a really hard test, well, you're probably going to need that Tier 3 result to succeed at all. It's a really intuitive way to handle basically any challenge you can think of.
And finally, let's talk about how your hero gets stronger. This isn't just about leveling up between adventures. It's about building this incredible heroic arc during a single adventure. As you defeat enemies and overcome big challenges outside of combat, you earn this resource called victories. Now, you can think of this like your hero's momentum, right? It's their growing confidence and power as the story builds. The more you accomplish, the more powerful you actually become within that one adventure.
And this creates this awesome gameplay loop. You face down a challenge, and you earn a victory. That gives you a temporary power boost for the adventure you're on. Then, when you finally get a moment to catch your breath, what the game calls a respite, all those victories you've stacked up get converted into permanent experience points. That makes your hero stronger for good.
So here's the bottom line. The game's mechanics actually create a story arc. You start out strong, for sure, but by the time you get to that final showdown, you are fueled by your victories and you're pulling off legendary stuff. You're not just winning, you're building your own heroic narrative with every single roll of the dice. In the end, Draw Steel is just a streamlined cinematic toolkit. It clears away all the boring bookkeeping to let you focus on tactical choices and epic moments. It gives you a stage, and the dice are your collaborators. The only question left is, what legend are you going to write?